Conspiracy.
Since the beginning of recorded history, mankind has been bound in a cycle of bloodshed and enslavement. You're a slave, I'm a slave, our children are slaves. We're allowed to shake our fist at those in power, but if it appears we're sniffing anywhere near loosening their grip on power, they will enact tougher laws that enslave us more. The only acceptable way for citizens to freely express their rights and values is through trinkets of consumption. If you'll recall, after 9/11, President George W. Bush rallied us to fight terrorism by shopping. He encouraged us to load up and go to Disney World in Florida. One group of people have been determined to control the population of another group of people. Control has always been the goal. The famous proverb, "all roads lead to Rome," is considered wise because during the height of its power, all roads did, in fact, lead to Rome. Over 10,000 of them to better aid the Romans in control of their empire. Over the past few weeks, the world has been subjected to a slow drip of panic over the coronavirus, also now known as the racist Wuhan flu. I think it's important to note here that while the CDC has encouraged us not to refer to the COVID-19 virus as the Wuhan flu because it's racist, they have zero problem referring to the Spanish flu of 1918 on their official government website as the Spanish flu, despite the fact that that particular flu strain, which killed over 50 million, didn't even originate from Spain. Since January, Americans have ingested and digested a steady, copious diet of frantic headlines and special news reports dedicated to the rapid and deadly spread of the coronavirus. We've been conditioned to suspect every cough and sneeze as evidence of our neighbor's infection. We've been urged not to panic and remain calm, while our 401ks bleed retirement plans. Broadway goes dark for a month. Schools across the country close down. States of emergencies are declared despite not having one single case. Major sporting events are called off and annual parades are canceled. America has responded by panicking, forcing stores to place limits on the amount of toilet paper each person can purchase. The fallout from this pandemic will extend far beyond the strain felt by our healthcare providers. Life as Americans currently know it will change. Despite more people dying this year at the time of this recording just from living in Chicago. I do not deny the existence of this virus, but I do question the American media's intentions. How could I not when almost all of the media we consume is owned by 6 large corporations, some of which own subsidiary companies that manufacture the toilet paper being purchased right now at a record pace? I'll admit I am suspect of the motives of our media and many politicians regarding information surrounding the coronavirus or Wuhan flu, so I began doing research on past pandemics. I found some surprising facts that had little to do with infectious diseases and more to do with the sickness that has infected America for over a century. At the conclusion of my research, I found it hard to believe that those who have been in American government and media for years care anything about the common man at all. Did you know that in 1907, Indiana passed the first eugenics-based compulsory sterilization law in the world? Over 64,000 individuals were forcibly sterilized between 1907 and 1963 in the United States. Even as late as 1972, as many as 40% of Native American women living on reservations were being forcibly sterilized by our government. It was America's desire to eliminate undesirables from the gene pool that inspired Hitler's plan to exterminate the Jews and create a superior race. The numbers the Nazis tattooed on the arms of Jews were transferred onto punch cards and fed into the IBM Watson computers created in Boca Raton, Florida. For years, our Justice Department tried to keep secret a 600-page report detailing the CIA's collaboration with prosecutors that knowingly granted entry to some Nazis to allow them to work for the U.S. government. America knowingly became a haven for the persecuted and the persecutors. Why should we give weight to what the talking heads on American televisions tell us when they were silent when it became known the U.S. government had injected black Tuskegee Airmen with syphilis who went untreated to serve as human guinea pigs? Or when our media was silent while AIDS drugs were being tested on American children in the foster care system? Or even their collective silence after Texas psychiatrist Joe Burkett stated on October 4, 2004, during a hearing on psychotropic drugs and foster care children, that the main reason so many children in the program were medicated was because they were very sick from a bad gene pool. So we fast forward to the threat our country faces today that originated from a communist country that hates its own people a little less than it hates freedom. One might wonder why America does any business at all with China, let alone become so reliant on the country that as we confront their bioengineered virus, yes, I said it, we aren't even sure if we can keep our shelves stocked and our medicines mixed. One should wonder no more after learning that China's one-child policy was again inspired by America's early eugenics program. The United Nations, which receives land and the most funding from America, has given China more awards than any other country. China, the same country that extracts live organs from its Muslim prisoners to sell to the highest bidder on the black market, is the model for the United Nations. It's also the model for many of America's politicians who sold America's soul to China through bad trade deals and Chinese spies disguised as chauffeur drivers and Harvard professors. And just like a bad virus to shadow governments, Donald Trump showed up. The Russia investigation didn't work. The Ukraine collusion accusation couldn't stick, so forgive me if I'm suspicious of the concern expressed today. Who could blame me for thinking this is their Hail Mary? In the run-up to the Wuhan flu, some in government set the stage beautifully. They remained silent while large tech companies exercised their monopoly and got busy acclimating us to censorship and encouraged us to be quiet, lest we be accused of racism or insensitivity. Now the virus has been deployed and havoc reigns supreme. They've managed to find an excuse to limit Joe Biden's exposure while calling for Trump to suspend his rallies, motivated, of course, only by care and concern for our well-being. These same politicians who have governed our nation for years now want us to distrust President Trump and his administration and hopefully buy up every roll of toilet paper manufactured by the same corporations who own the media companies that carry their messages into our homes.
Conspiracy